And the fallout from President Trump's firm fire and fury threat against North Korea, it's continuing today as his defense secretary, Jim Mattis, doubled down on the comments, warning the rogue regime that they will lose in any arms race or conflict against the U.S. But what exactly are our military options? Here to discuss, Captain Chuck Nash, a Fox News military analyst and a former naval aviator, and Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, a former counterterrorism advisor to Vice President Cheney and a current Fox News contributor. I will start with you, Colonel Waltz. I want to get to this unconfirmed report we're hearing tonight. Just came out moments before the show started that North Korea considering firing 4 missiles at Guam. What do you make of that tonight? Again, this is unconfirmed by our government.
Well, this is part of the back and forth and kind of the bluster, so to speak, from the North Korean regime. Now, of note, the Hwasong-12 was recently tested in both April and May. Those are some of the missiles that we've seen flying offshore into the Sea of Japan and offshore of the North Korean regime. And also of note, they are essentially stored on mobile launchers, which means they can be moved at night. They can be hidden in underpasses. It's very difficult for us to detect these things. Wow. And we did not detect them before they were test launched just this past spring. However, Guam is protected by the THAAD anti-missile system, the same one we've deployed in South Korea, has about 100% success rate. All right.
Well, Captain Nash, pardon me. I want to ask you, we're talking about what the U.S. can do. We talked about the war of words, but have we exhausted all diplomatic options? We've, of course, put in 4 sanctions on North Korea. We got the UN to agree to that. There was a good meeting with the ASEAN nations. It seems to me that there's been a lot of effort in that regard. Is there anything else to do in terms of diplomacy?
Well, I think, as a matter of fact, I'm fairly confident there are back-channel talks going on as well. The other thing that's going on, too, is the fact that you've got the political tensions, not just the rhetoric, but the political tensions are high. The Japanese are considering doing away, or not doing away, but significantly modifying Article 9 of their Constitution, which would allow them to have an offensive military capability. The potential for Japan to go nuclear should North Korea continue to present a threat, given the regional animosities that have existed there for centuries. And then you start looking at the forces in play, too. The Navy's there with the Aegis system that can shoot down mid-course. And as the Colonel just said, there's THAAD for the terminal phase. So if they have they're talking about the intentions of shooting 4 missiles into Guam, well, I have the intention of winning the Powerball tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen, but, intentions are intentions.
I like that. So we've talked about diplomacy, and it sounds like you believe we've pretty much run our course through that. What are the potential military options here? I mean, there's a big range of them. I mean, people tend to jump to say nuclear, but there's a lot that can be done before that. Colonel Waltz.
That's right, and I don't think we should skip over the sanctions regime as well. There's this notion that, I agree that we have tried diplomacy since the mid-90s and it has failed. But on the sanctions piece, Congress is passing some secondary sanctions, particularly against Chinese companies that are doing business with North Korea. And what that means is, we will go after those Chinese companies, not just the North Korean companies as well. And we haven't quite really ratcheted those sanctions up yet, and I think we could have an effect there. That's the exact same approach that had an effect with Iran and brought them to the table with the Iran deal. The military options are not great. The trump card that Kim Jong-un has in terms of his artillery and rockets aimed at Seoul is significant. I do not think, from my understanding, that we would be able to take those down before they were able to fire on the civilian population, and that would be catastrophic. So we need to also explore covert, cyber, and a number of other kind of middle area tactics and strategies before we get to the military option.